Good evening. TJ here once again. Welcome to the Imaginary Gallery. Tonight's discussion is the Cluster B people's tendency to have a trait of poor financial management. Well, several years ago I worked in a credit card collection company and just recently tied the two things together because I used to get a laugh and a kick out of the types of conversations I would have on the phones with these people. And then when I read the characteristics or traits of the narcissistic personality slash sociopath, whatever disorder, poor financial management, poor financial management is one of the traits, and a second one is a lack of accountability. Well, I was thinking about this and realizing that oh my goodness, there's a connection. Now, I'm not saying that anybody or everybody who's had a financial issue is a cluster B personality disordered person, but it's awfully interesting how when I think back to all those stories and situations I used to encounter back on the collections phones and realize that there is a definite connection. Because look at it. There's poor financial management. Well, I answered the phones. So basically, our collection department would call the delinquent customers and leave a message saying, "Hi, this is an important message for so-and-so, please call us back." Well, I was sitting in the office that gets those calls. So I would be there and I'd answer the phone, "Hello, da da da," and they'd be, "I got this phone call. I don't know what it's about." And I'd think, "Ugh, you don't?" And I'd pull it up, and of course, it's an account that's past due. So a lot of times we'd talk to people, and these people were, let's say, 6 months past due. And I would be there to tell you, "Okay, well, you owe this amount total." And they'd be, "I can't pay that." And it's, "Okay, well, you've got this past due amount." And basically we'd go down from there. But what I noticed with a lot of these callers is that they had a severe lack of accountability. For example, some of them would say things when usually it was because they weren't calling to resolve it. They were actually calling because we happened to call them, and their friend or wife or husband answered and is asking them, "Why is that bank calling you?" "I just called to tell you to stop calling." So it's like a perfect narcissistic trait because they're ignoring the fact that they owe the money. They're just mad because we called about it. That's just like when you found out your husband was cheating, but because you looked in the email, and your husband doesn't care about the fact that he's cheating, it's that you looked in his email. It's like these people have the same characteristics everywhere. And so we would also have situations where you may not know this, but in collection laws, different states have different laws. So in specific states, if it's, let's just say, one specific state, there's like you can talk to a spouse legally. So what these people do, not knowing this, is, let's say the little wife wants to have her own little secret credit card behind her husband's back, and what does she do? She goes out, applies for it in his name, has it mailed somewhere else to her sisters, and she takes the card and charges it, and she's doing really well. But eventually something happens where she can't pay it anymore. Well, guess what happens? The bank starts calling, and the husband answers. And what happens? The husband says, "Yeah," and they're like, "Yes, may I speak to your wife?" And she's not here, and because they can speak to the spouse in that state, it's, "Well, your wife's account is delinquent, this amount past due, and da-da-da. My wife ain't got no credit card." I do show she has, and they basically confirm she does. He's like, "Well, she's going to have a lot of explaining tonight." So basically that happens, and then what do we get? Again, the bill is not even being addressed. I would answer, "Hello," and I hear, "I want to talk to your manager now." And I'd be like, "Oh, what's the deal?" "You people talked to someone about this card who's not listed on it." And I'd be like, "Okay, would that be your husband?" "Yes, he is not listed." And I'd be, Well, in your state, we can speak to a spouse about a delinquent debt. So once again, they wouldn't take responsibility that they used it and didn't pay it. It's just, how dare we tell her secret? And I used to have to say, like, I'm sorry, legally, we can't keep secrets from your spouse. The other thing that would happen would be somebody would be real far behind, they'd be upset, and they'd call in saying, how dare you people call me every day? Stop calling. And then it would turn out that they're real far behind, couldn't pay, whatever. And I understand people can't pay, but these people are like acting like the bank is at fault. They're saying things like, well, it's your fault. You sent me that card. Never mind, I used it, but oh, and again, it's like no accountability. And I would be like, wow, these people are strange that they think that using the card was just fine, just like the narcissist thinks cheating and lying was just fine. But when you find out about it and address it, it's like, don't you address this? Don't you call me? Blah, blah, blah. You sent the card. It's your fault. And the other thing would be that's funny, I laughed at, was somebody gets the card, doesn't pay it, changes address, changes phone number, hides, leaves it alone for like several years, and then one day they find Mr. or Mrs. Right and decide, I want to buy a house. Well, they go to the lender, and the lender says, oh, you can't get a loan. You have a horrible charge-off credit on your history. So what do? They call us. You people have ruined my credit, or credit. And I think, what? You didn't pay your bill, and you're saying the bank ruined your credit? Again, lack of accountability. It's like, let's get back to reality, baby. You skipped town on the bank that you borrowed from, and it's our fault. And I sometimes would get I would sometimes be tempted to say, okay, so let me guess. You have a horrible grade point average, and you say the teachers ruined your grade point average. Let me guess. Your driving record is screwed up from 100 tickets. And what do you say? Oh, the police have ruined my driving record. It's like, it was just ridiculous. But just listening to those stories and learning about the narcissistic lack of accountability and the poor financial management, I saw a definite connection. And it was just funny and interesting. And I thank you for listening. Have a great evening.